Hello, I've missed you all. I really like joining you like this when I can, and we're gonna go to Michigan next week, so I probably won't be joining you next week, but I wanted to say hello and chat about a few things. And I've got my laptop here so I can see your comments, and I thought we would do a test because someone in the group talked about, they said they only had watercolor. It was just this morning, I'm not sure who it was, and you know, could they get the same effects? And I get that question a lot, and I love watercolor. I used to do more than I do now, but of course watercolor can be reconstituted with water, so the layering is tough. And someone said, which is a great idea, you could spray workable fixative and get that, you know, sort of seal that layer so that you can keep going. That would be a fun thing to try. If you're joining live, tell me where you're joining from. I'm in Palm Harbor, Florida. So anyway, I thought it would be fun to try, though, a test, and I took some regular gouache and some, also some watercolor, and I mixed, because what I said in the comment is I said you could mix acryl gouache, white acryl gouache, with your regular gouache and get it to be more opaque and more permanent. And I wanted to try the same thing with gesso. So that's what I did. And I thought I would test it with you and then maybe do some relaxing painting. All right, so what I did is I took, this is regular gouache right here, not acryl gouache. So when I hit that with water, we're gonna see it come to life again. And then this is watercolor. And then on these two, I added some white acryl gouache. So we'll see when I hit it with water how permanent it is. Say hello. Oh, hey, Jeannie. Thanks for joining. And then I put some acryl gouache in this. I'm talking about doing a test because someone asked in the group, can you use watercolor with, you know, this style? And I have watercolor, love it. But I suggested mixing some white acryl gouache with the watercolor or with regular gouache. Either one, you know, those paints that can be reconstituted with water. I said, let's try a test with adding some white acryl gouache and some white gesso and just see what kind of permanence we get. So that's what I did. This is regular gouache here. This is watercolor. Here I added some white acryl gouache. So let's see how much permanence we get with just adding the acryl gouache. We get opacity. I mean, that's really nice and opaque. That's just watercolor mixed with acryl gouache. And it's nice and opaque. It looks like gouache. So let's see if I wet my brush. This is the test. Let's see how much of it reconstitutes. So, all right, so here's the regular gouache, which I know is going to reconstitute, and of course it does, because there's no acrylic in it. All right, now let me test this is the regular gouache mixed with some acryl gouache. So let's see if it gets a little more, hi Noreen. Oh, look at that. Okay, so it does reconstitute, but a little bit less, I think. I'm having to scrub it more. So that might be one thing to do to watercolor, is to add, it's coming up, but I am really scrubbing it. So that was the test with the acryl gouache mixed with regular gouache. Now let's try it with the watercolor. Hi, Susan. Hi, Joe. Okay, now let's see. Whoops, I threw my brush on the floor. Good thing I have a few more. Okay, let's try, this is watercolor. And then I mixed the watercolor with acryl gouache. So let's see what happens here. So it does reconstitute, but not all the way. It does help. I was just trying to help some of you who only have watercolors to figure out what to do. I think let's try these two. This is gesso and see if that performs any differently. And then I think if they both reconstitute like this, then I think you would be better off doing the workable fixative, which somebody suggested. That's made by Krylon. And I have a link to it on my website, but it allows you to spray and then, you know, continue to work. It protects the layer below. Okay, so here I took the same regular gouache and I mixed it with gesso, white gesso. So let's see if that, look you guys. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna do it again. That's what you do. It's not, it's barely, like I'm really scrubbing it. It's barely reconstituting. All right, now let's try the gesso test with the watercolor, with the, yeah, this is the watercolor, the pink one. Same thing. Oh, this is exciting. That means that if you have watercolors, just get yourself some white gesso, and that when you mix it with the watercolor, it doesn't reconstitute real well. See, that was with gesso. That one I mixed with the acrylic gouache. I thought this would make it more permanent, but the gesso did. Oh, thanks, Noreen. I'm so glad you're having fun. Hi, Trina. Are there different types of gouache? Well, there are really just, I mean, there are different brands, of course, but there are really just two that I know of. Who knows what, but you have your, what I call regular gouache, meaning it's the original, like French paint that painters used to use in the, I think it's the 18th century, but maybe even earlier, when they would paint wallpaper and designs for wallpaper, and they used gouache because of its just intense, opaque, you know, the pigmented look that it has. And more recently, I'm not sure when it was invented, acryl gouache came out. And what they've done is they've taken the properties that are in acrylic paint and put them in the gouache without losing that chalky, wonderful texture. So I love gouache, but I end up using acryl gouache a lot because of the layering. So those are the two types that I know about. It either has acrylic in it, which means it's permanent, or it doesn't, which means it isn't. So yeah, just to review the little test, I took regular gouache, meaning no acrylic in it, and watercolors. So these are both something that you can reconstitute with water. Hi, Coco. And then I tried two things that you could add to them to make them more permanent. I tried acryl gouache here and here, and I tried just white gesso here and here. And clearly the white gesso increased the permanence much more than the acryl gouache, because I just added water and was able to get this sort of reconstituted. I had to scrub. I mean, it definitely helped, but the gesso really stayed pretty permanent. So that's a good option for any of you with watercolors. If you don't want to, you know, if you just want to experiment with this, get yourself some white gesso, mix it with the watercolor, and of course you could also use the fixative. Hi, Alfie. Let's see, what other questions have been in the group? Oh, someone asked about whether their 10-year-old could take the class. I have several children, especially if, you know, if they like, if they're drawn to color and creativity. I think it's great for kids. I think the only mistake you can make with kids is to give them a restrictive art class, a class that's too confining. I know as you get older, it's good to learn, you know, some of the structured things in art. I never liked them myself, but I know there's value in that. But for children, hi Margaret, I don't think a structured art class is a good idea. It can, you know, the wrong teacher or an overly rigid teacher can really cut creativity off. And it's just, to me, such a precious thing, that creative spirit, whether it's in a child or in us and an adult. It's so precious and tender and easily, like I talk about it being like a kitten that you've, you know, a stray kitten that's hiding under a porch. You know, you're not going to coax that kitten out by yelling at it or by telling it not to use so many colors or telling it to not, whatever. My son was always really creative, and I signed him up for some art classes, and I said, how'd it go? And he said, well, she made me paint the blue vase the way she wanted me to paint it. And so I didn't really like it. And I said, okay, no, yeah, noted. Yeah, that doesn't sound fun to me either. So, but anyway, I think I've had kids do well in this class. What I would say is show them a video or show them the ad or even my YouTube and see if they seem like connected to it. Hi, Jeannie, or interested. You know, I'd go by their interest level and excitement level. All right, so that was a fun test with the gesso. What other questions you all have? It's such fun to see what you guys are making. The creativity is incredible. Who is it? Joanne, who's painting on bags. You gotta love that, right? Oh, thanks, Coco. So I thought, remember that 3-color challenge that I still haven't done? I thought I would just sort of chat and do that here with you all, and I thought I'd make it really simple so that it's not stressful. And I'm gonna pull you up here. I've got just a page that I painted in acryl gouache right here in my watercolor sketchbook. This is the moleskin one, which is almost full. I did these leaves. I think you saw this spread. This was very relaxing too. If you want to do this, let me make sure you can see that. What you do is liquid gesso, Coco asked a question, is liquid gesso good for mixing? Well, yeah, so what I used on this test is I used my white gesso. It's like, I don't know if I'd call it liquid though. I mean, it's, you know, it's kind of the consistency of, I don't know, what is that? Yogurt? Yeah, maybe it's the consistency of yogurt. But yeah, that's what I used to mix with the watercolor or regular gouache to make it both more opaque and more permanent. Anyway, the way I did this one is I painted the background first in acryl gouache so that it wouldn't get disturbed. And then I just got some colors and in a very relaxed way painted these leaves. And then I took the gold pen and did some highlights with them. But this, for my 3-color, I thought I would just take this. This is basically kind of a teal. And then I'm just gonna take some unbleached titanium. And this is Liquitex's acrylic gouache. I go back and forth with the brands. And I was just gonna do some leaves and chat with you while I'm painting a little bit. Maybe you can get your paints out too. We can have a little paint party. I wanna make sure you can see what I'm doing. Let me lift you up here. There you go. I think you can see that pretty well. Tell me where you're joining from. I'm in Palm Harbor, Florida. We just moved here in November, and I'm liking the weather. I will say that. Okay, I think I'm just gonna do, this is my 3-color challenge, so I'm just gonna do some leaves maybe coming in from the sides of the page, and we'll see where it goes. I don't really have a plan other than relaxing leaves while I'm talking to you. I'm using the Cotman, the Winsor Newton Cotman brush, number 6 round. And did you love the 3-color challenge, Joe? That's great, because you know, it can be really frustrating if you're used to using a lot of colors. The first time I tried it, I think I overcomplicated it, so I didn't have fun with it, because I tried to make, you know, some kind of really interesting abstract, and it just, I don't know, maybe I was in the wrong mood. But that's why I decided this one, just stick with the 3 colors and the leaves. I think that's what you did, Joe, right? Didn't you do you did a, I don't remember, I think which one you did. St. Louis, Noreen, Melbourne, oh, Margaret, what time is it there, isn't it? Aren't you, Trinity, Florida? Oh my gosh, you're not part all, Sharon. That is so funny. Wait a minute, Margaret, I'm trying to think what time it is there, but good for you. I thought it would be like, maybe it's late at night. St. Louis, look at us all over the place, gathering to have fun with paint. There's not many places in our lives that we can, you know, just kind of play like this and don't have to show anyone the outcome. The outcome doesn't have to mean anything. It can be just for the sheer joy of it. An activity that is rewarding in and of itself. Doesn't have to have a purpose. I don't know, it's pretty unique, isn't it? Especially if I'm kind of a type A, so it's hard for me to do things that don't have a specific purpose. I'm very utilitarian. I guess I'm unusual that way in the artist world. So, you're Joe. You're in Reading. 1:20 a.m. Margaret. Oh, hi Josie. You're in Montreal. Wow, you're up late, Margaret. I was up late the other day. I got painting. I'm obsessed with these paintings I've been doing. I'll show you some. Oh gosh, they're so fun. And all right, let me tell you one of my secrets for getting your brain to get out of your way. For fooling your brain. Minneapolis, hey Leanne. One of my secrets for getting my brain out of the way when I'm creating is actually what I'm doing right now, because I'm talking to you, so I have to use part of my brain to form sentences. But also, at night, and someone posted that they had just done a piece, a sketchbook spread while they were watching TV and at night, and that's one of my, I have created some things I've really loved during that. So in the evenings, you know, my husband and I watch shows. In fact, we need a new show if you have any recommendations. We finally watched Grand Tour and Top Gear and those guys, and they are so funny. But it's over. And what else have we watched? We love British series, but I think we've watched them all. Noreen, I think brushes make a big difference. Yes, I'm using the same brushes I use with watercolor that I'm now using for acrylics. They don't see those. Yeah, that's true. A brush makes a big difference. In fact, I have brushes that I've just said, okay, you're going in the trash because you're making me angry. A brush should not make you angry. Just like a glass of wine, if it makes you angry, it's not a good glass of wine. From that movie. What was it called? A Good Year? That was funny. Yes, brushes. Okay, so my favorite watercolor and gouache brushes for this kind of work are either these Cotmans, and I have these, I do have a link to both of these types on my website under supplies, and the Princeton Velvet Touch. There are other good brushes. I'm just saying from my trial and error of lots and lots of brushes, this is my not good brush pile. So I keep this jar for brushes that are for rougher work. But if you're going to try to do something like this, you want a good brush because otherwise you aren't going to have the control and get the results and be happy. And these are not expensive. It's not like they're, $20 a piece. Now, when you're doing acrylic, so I use with watercolor that I'm using for acrylics. Well, this works fine. These work fine with acrylic gouache. I just don't use them when I do straight acrylic because, well, if I'm working bigger, let's say if I'm working larger, then I'll use like a real acrylic brush like this. So it just depends on what I'm doing. But if I'm just on a small thing like this, I use both these for watercolor and acryl gouache, no problem. So that's drying while I'm chatting, and then these are the three colors I picked. I picked the unbleached titanium, which is like a parchment, the bright aqua green, and this medium magenta. And of course, in the 3-color challenge, you can mix them. But let me show you while that's drying what I've been doing at night in front of the TV. So I start with these. I know I got to do a class on these, but this is that paper that I put on my website and the supplies because I'm obsessed with it. In fact, I'm thinking I should order another package before it gets... You know how Amazon is. Sometimes things just get sold out and disappear. And I might have some paper panic. Cambridge. Hi, Paulette. Oh, you love that show? Oh, wait. Somebody feed Phil. Okay, great. Yeah, because I'm waiting for the next season of Ted Lasso. Talk about a feel-good show. And all right, good. I'm going to try Somebody Feed Phil. But I've been doing these gardens. So what brush for straight acrylics? Maybe mixed with okay, I'll show you my favorite acrylic. Let me go grab it. These are my favorite, let's say, I'm gonna say this is my favorite brand for straight acrylic. It's, there's a couple, and neither one are expensive. This one's a little bit more. This is the Silver Brislan Bright, and it comes in different sizes. And then this, I don't know, Noreen, are you in the US but there's a brand that is perfectly adequate at Hobby Lobby called Master's Touch that I like using as well. Oh, Ruth, yeah, I know, Ted Lasso. So great. We need more shows like that and less shows about all the horrible things going on in the world. So these are the gardens now. I didn't start it and finish it all in front of the TV, but I start them. And then the next day I tweak them or play with them. I'm gonna do an original sale of these if I can part with them. Probably in a couple of weeks. But yeah, I just think there's something magical that happens when you are able to get your brain to stop its normal, at least for my brain, stop its normal, overthinking when we're creating. So I think watching a good show is a good idea. Listening to a podcast, listening to artist videos, YouTube, or some people can listen to music. I don't know why. Music somehow doesn't make any sense to me, but it disrupts I don't know if it uses the same part of the brain that the painting uses and the talking uses a different part. I don't know. But I've tried music. Even the only music I can is something without lyrics. That makes no sense to me either. But it is what it is, right? Oh, you're welcome, Margaret. Now you're going to be thinking of ideas when you're trying to sleep tonight. Okay, so I think I'll do maybe a different shaped leaf here. Oh, I know what I'll do. I've been liking these. Oh, I can only use 3 colors. I was about to grab my gold pen and make a stem, but I can't ask you to do a 3-color challenge if I'm not going to do it, right? So I'm going to make a stem in the parchment color and then the leaves in the pink. I love these little Cotmans. This is just a size 1, and for the details, it's really nice. Okay, what other shows do you recommend? I'm trying to think which ones we recently liked that we really liked, that we watched. I went for a walk this morning in our neighborhood. You can walk to a lake, and I was gonna FaceTime you all from there because I thought it might be fun, but then I didn't know if the reception would be strong enough. So I'm just painting the 3 colors, leaves. How do I keep my supplies while watching TV? Oh, you should see my little setup. So, all right, that's a great question. Maybe I'll just put that in the FaceTime, in the live next time. I have a little lap desk that I bought, I think, at Costco. And I have my sketchbook or small paper because, in front of the TV, it's something small. And then I have the small tubes of acryl gouache and just like 3 or 4 brushes. And then I have a little table next to me. I told my husband I have to have the chair, because we have these 2 chairs that face the TV. I have to have the chair on the left because then my table and my stuff is on the right. And so that's how I do it. I have a little set of stuff that I just pull out, and trying to decide where I want this other branch to go. And I'll have sometimes several pieces of paper going at once because I've got, I do a background maybe and set it on the floor and let it dry. And my family's used to me not really watching shows. Sometimes they'll say, could you actually just watch this one? And if it's really good, I do. But I have more fun painting usually. Most TV is not that good, right? And it's kind of like my painting time. I've always, by the way, always done things with my hands. So before I was brave enough to start painting, which took, I think I was almost 50, I would knit or a needlepoint or just fiber stuff. I mean, spin. I have a spinning wheel. I would do all kinds of things like that. So I've always been not the person sitting still or you know, just sitting and watching TV. I've always had to do something with my hands. Okay, so now I'm gonna see what happens if I mix a little bit of that pink. I can mix some of this, the parchment and the pink. One of the colors I've really enjoyed discovering, and I do buy it because you can make it, but it's just a lot of work each time you make it, and that's basically a tan or an off-white or a parchment, because when you mix it with things, see how you get this kind of warm pink versus with white, you get, you know, it's just different. So I think I'll just do some random leaves. So yeah, it's really enhanced color mixing to have the off-white in the toolbox. Just messing around. This is the kind of fun thing to do that is so therapeutic and relaxing, I think. Thinking about, let's see, I knit while watching. I don't think I could manage painting at this time. Yeah, I hear you. I didn't start it until well in. Alicia, yeah. Brown and white, yeah. So here's the thing, to make this, you can make it, but it's more than brown and white. It's almost like a little bit of all the colors. So you're gonna take a little bit of blue, a little bit of red, a little bit of yellow, and some white. And you're gonna get a variety of kind of, you know, off-white, which is great. I mean, you can absolutely mix it. And maybe you can make enough like to put in a little container if it's gouache, you know, those little containers. I have them on my website under supplies, but they're little plastic jars with tops that you can get on Amazon. And that's what I used to do, is just mix up a batch of this off-white and have it in there. Okay, Margaret, what is the difference between gouache and gesso? You know, technically, well, so gesso is not a paint. Gesso just comes in either white, they think there's clear. Actually, I've seen some gold gesso somewhere, but I've never used it. I just put mine in here from the big container. It comes in black, but it's a surface prep material. So what it does is, like, I didn't use it on this page because I just used the acryl gouache, but I often do. Let me get my, actually it is in this book. I often do use gesso on a page, like, let's see here. I think, yeah, these are gessoed, I can feel it. These were, so what gesso does is it keeps the paint on the surface of your paper. So if you put paint on, it soaks into the paper, right? Like this did. If you want more layers, if you just want that texture and you want the paint sitting on top, then you gesso it first. So for example, on these, I've been gessoing first. I just do white gesso first, paint it on there, and then start painting. You don't have to, it's just, you should experiment with both. But gouache is a paint that comes in many colors and that we're using to paint. Does that help, Margaret? One is a surface prep that comes in very few colors, white, black, clear. Like I said, I've heard of gold, and the other are paints. All right, now for my 3-color, to make the background color, I mixed this turquoise with the parchment. So since this will show up as a separate color, I've got the turquoise straight, and I could make some little marks with just my bright turquoise. And I haven't even mixed the magenta with the turquoise, but this will show up a little bit. I've been kind of obsessed with these little brush marks lately. I think it started before this, but in my latest class that I've been working on, which you'll get information about probably in about a month, it's abstracts, and I'm using some master painters as inspiration, like Andre Duran, who is one of the Fauvists. I don't know if you've heard of Fauvism. Makes you think of a mimosa tree. Oh, this does? Yeah. Anyway, Fauvism is one of my favorite art forms. It's when the abstract artists let go of the idea of things need to be a certain color, so you'll see red trees and purple leaves and just whatever, any turquoise houses, whatever they wanted to do, they did. So I find that very freeing. And anyway, Andre Duran uses a lot of these, sort of impressionist looking brush strokes. So we paint a painting in that class inspired by his work. And so ever since I've done that, these little brush strokes are kind of part of my repertoire. And I love how studying and getting inspired from one of the master's paintings do that. They give us an idea to play with. Okay, now let me see what happens when I mix the magenta with the... Oh, look at that nice purple. These are really good 3 colors to use, because then I could lighten the purple with the magenta. Those are too small. Yes, you must sleep, Margaret. It's got to be close to 2 a.m. Good night. We aren't much good without sleep. So, well, I'm glad I've finally done my 3-color challenge. And we also learned in this video that if you add gesso to your watercolor or your regular gouache, it will make it more opaque and also more permanent. Of course, it will make it more white, it will change the color. And I could just keep going with this. I know what I can do. I can take this lavender and do some stems. Working with 3 colors really forces you to think about other ways to make your work exciting. Yeah, and I think I can go back with the parchment and do some maybe little things on the light pink leaves, but some things have to dry. So I'm going to get back to my the rest of my day, and I'm really thankful you all joined me. I'll pop you back up. Marie Claire. Hi, Marie Claire. That sounds like a French name. There we go. Thanks for joining me, everybody. That was fun. Make sure to watch at the beginning about the test that we did with the gouache and the acryl gouache mixing with watercolor and also gesso. Some of you have been asking about that. And have a creative day. And heading up to Michigan to visit some friends for the next week or so. So I probably will talk to you all when I get back. And keep creating. Just love what you're doing in the group. I love, when someone says, "It's my first time posting," and everyone just surrounds them with love. That's the best, isn't it? I love that, because you know how scary that is. I mean, that first time, who said it today that she painted something and said she probably held her breath the whole time? Oh my gosh, I can relate. So yeah, I love that you're all encouraging each other and yourselves. Remember to be really gentle and kind. Be very, very tender with your creative spirit. And it's more of coaxing it and then, demanding that it come out. All right. So good to be with you. Bye-bye.